All right, we'd like to welcome everyone to our city council tonight. We're excited to have this huge audience in the auditorium here. All you are just being here is motivational.
Right?
Yeah.
I got to take a those things, see the Washington Monument, all those things, which I've done before, but this time it made me think about how grateful I was to live here in this country. And shortly after that, I got to attend a conference while I was in Washington, D.C. called CIFAR, the CIFAR conference. It's Children, Youth, and Families at Risk. So I sat with professionals of all different kinds from all around the country and talked about problems that schools are dealing with and that families are dealing with and all of those things as they tried to come up with ways and programs that they could do to help these families. And I realized as I was sitting there that I love this country partially because I love living in America, but also because of where I live. And I thought as I listened to all of the things all of the problems that they're dealing with and all of those things, it just made me more grateful to come home. In the midst of all of this, I got a text from my daughter telling me she bought tickets to the Champions Challenge Rodeo and reminding me that I needed to buy tickets to the rodeo on the 24th. And I got an email from one of the high schoolers that's helped with the Harvest Moon Hurrah for 3 years asking if I would write her a letter of recommendation. And I got probably 50 emails about the Youth Arts Festival, which we're in the middle of right now. And I was thinking about what a great place we live. Not only do we live in an amazing country, but we live in an amazing community. And I know that part of that is the people that live here, and part of that is from you guys. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I was going to bring you t-shirts from the Youth Arts Festival, because we're in the middle of that right now. But they're locked in the high school, and I don't have a key. So later, I heard some of you are coming to Cupcake Wars, though. Do you know that some of you are coming to Cupcake Wars? So I will make sure I have their fluorescent green this year. You're going to love it.
Oh, Mayor loves green.
A t-shirt.
And that's why
we will send a t-shirt to you because I hear you're going to be Florida.
I was there last year, but I'll be to a conference and I won't be here.
That's what she said.
So I've delegated
I will
this
send
time.
a bright green t-shirt just
thank
for you.
Thank you.
He cuts the sleeves and the bottom part off, though, so to work out.
Oh, okay, well, you can do whatever.
Active and healthy.
Whatever you need to do with it. We have just under 1,000 students participating this year.
So cool.
Lots going on. It's super exciting, and I know there's lots of. I know the ball fields are full till I don't know after I go to bed. There's people down playing baseball, and there's just such wonderful things happening here. So thank you very much for that, and thanks for all that you do. So
thank you.
Okay.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Our Father in heaven, we are so grateful to be here in this community, to live and to serve and to learn together. We're grateful for this council and for the other leaders that serve us and protect us and help us. Please be with them this night, that they will have guidance as they are making decisions that affect our community, and that they will remember the members of this community as they are making decisions. Bless us that we will have peace and safety, not only here this night, but on our community and on all those who are struggling here in Spanish Fork and who are dealing with hard things. Help us to know how to help them. And we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you.
I've asked Council Member Beck to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please repeat the pledge after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Next item of business, we got some visitors out there in the foyer that we'd like to bring in. So, Dell, will you make sure all those people come in here?
Take our hats off, he says.
No, you don't take your hats off when you come in here.
Just don't wear it backwards.
Yeah, well, keep it on, please. What we have here is we have the Spanish Fork High School girls softball team. And Don, what have we done lately? We'll get them all in here. Go ahead and tell us what happened.
Well, we found this group of renegades up at a ballpark.
There you go.
Anyway, we took state championship, third time in a row. You know, and, taking it one time is hard, and taking it twice is very hard, and taking it three times is unbelievable. But it's a good team, you know, led by a good pitcher, had good defense, good hitting, and they had good grades.
Awesome.
Hey, I'm the mom of, no, I'm the friend of a mom of one of your girls. And Amanda Mitchell's mother really appreciates her being on the team because it helps her not have to nag her through the whole season and keep her grades up. And there's no sloughs. We've had multiple talks on this, so thank you for helping Amanda Mitchell succeed.
We found a magic way. Magic, it's just magic what punishment will do for grades.
Do they crash in the off season?
Yes.
Let's just say if they come in with an NC,
So 3 years in a row, which is phenomenal. And we've also had some other honors here. You want to tell about that picture you've got, what she won?
Cambry. Cambry is a very special pitcher. She has for 4 years been dominant. She set a state record this year with 74 wins, which that's hard to do. This year she went 24-0. Had a little hiccup, but we got over the hiccup and won the next game. And we got news yesterday that she's now the Gatorade Player of the Year
Wow.
for softball. And that's
Pretty
hard
impressive.
to do.
Congratulations.
She's been nominated for 3 straight years, and you have to do paperwork, and this year we just ditto, you know, we don't want to do everything again, but she won it, and that's prestigious for the high school, and for her, and for us, and for you.
And for all of you that
Yeah.
were there to support her, because she didn't do it by herself. It was you guys that helped there, so.
You know, she really didn't. I mean, she got the accolades, you know, she was 24-0 and a lot of strikeouts, but these girls behind me, they have to field the ball when they hit it. And they do hit it, so they did pretty darn good this year. A good defensive team and good bats.
Awesome.
In fact, if they hadn't had such good bats, Cambry would have had better stats, because they were 4 or 5 inning games, a lot of them.
Right.
So you lose a couple innings on your stats. But it's a good team, a very good team.
We're pretty excited. We're excited the way you represented Spanish Fork. You know, that means a lot to us. And as I go around the state and people know about Spanish Fork, not only for baseball, but really for softball. Last time I talked, someone said, "Oh, you guys got some really good softball players there." And I said, "Yeah, we do. It's awesome."
You know, Mayor, I say this, you know, this is third or fourth time I'm up before you, and I say the same thing every time. But I don't get tired of saying it. I hope you don't get tired of hearing it. It takes the whole village to get this team where it's at. You know, we've found that some coaches use a whip to motivate them. Some dangle a carrot. We dangle a fire truck. And it works.
Isn't that awesome? Isn't that awesome? Yes, we
It
do.
works, so.
Well, I'll tell you what, and it's amazing how that motivation gets them, you know, right on that fire truck down Main Street.
It's motivational.
That's good.
We ought to bottle it.
That's right. Hey, we'd like all of you to come up here and line up here. so everybody can see you.
And then everybody say something. Say a few words.
No, no, please.
I just wanted to see Gabby's
So just
face.
come up here, line up. You can look out that way and then turn around and look at us. Because the camera will be shining both ways. Come on. And maybe what we can do, let's do this. Let's have each of you just come say your name and what position you play. Hey, there you go. And you get your
Start
you
with
get your
you,
30
Barbara.
seconds on TV because there's only 5 million people watching.
And their parents, Mayor, who they are and their parents.
That's all right.
Name your parents and what position you play.
And your GPA.
No.
Just kidding.
And if you have any speeding tickets.
Hey, don't listen to these guys. Just go
So you want
ahead.
me to say my name and my position?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm Mikkel Stone and I played left field.
Right, and then come over here and stand. Yeah, so we can all see you.
I'm Amanda Mitchell. I play first base.
I'm Kinley Harrison and I play third.
I'm Ruby Campbell and I catch.
I'm Gabby Beckstrom and I play shortstop. I'm Mallory Barber, I play third. I'm Lindsay Smith and I play infield and outfield. Sam Calder and I play outfield. I'm Maddie Tracy and I play outfield.
All right, now let's get the coaches here. Get up here. Come on. Come on.
I'm Jimmy Andrews. And I coach.
And I'm Natalie Jarvis, and I coach. And I also want to say thank you for the field and all of that to Dale, especially. That was quite an honor for Don and I.
That was a fun.
Thank you
That
very
was
much.
fun.
That was really cool.
You've already met me, but I'll help you. I think their grade point was about 3.8, thereabouts.
Good.
Yeah, that was awesome. Hey, nice job. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good work.
Congratulations. 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 Your dad texted me so to embarrass you.
Did it work?
Yeah. Oh no, they gotta get their moment in the glory here. All right. That's great. Okay, let's move on. Let's move to public comments. Anyone here that'd like to discuss or talk to the mayor and council, you're sure welcome to come up here. Unless you're here for our public hearings, then I'd just encourage you to wait till the public hearing. But if you just like to come up and address us, you're welcome to. Seeing none,
Is this the time for the utility fund or not?
No,
that'll be at the public hearing, yeah. So, and maybe next, after all those good-looking girls, we did have the Champions Challenge Saturday night, and we had a great rodeo. And you know, we've got our adopted son here, and we'd like him to come up and talk to us for just, well, I better put a time limit on it. We got Joe Butler, one of the best bullfighters, as far as I'm concerned, around.
I appreciate it, Mayor. You know, I just wanted to come in today and just tell you guys how great it was to be part of this Champions Challenge one year again. You know, it was a great event, and for people who didn't come, you missed a great deal. And I would suggest making sure being Fiesta Days. You know, it just means a lot to me that I'm part of your guys' city and have been here and watched this city grow and the amazing stuff you guys do. I mean, you see everybody with the green wristbands with the Active and Healthy, and you know, it's just another thing that, you know, I'm pleased to be a part of is on June 17th, the Wellness Fair. You know, I'm going to be the president of it, and Mike talked me into speaking there. So, you know, it's just a great thing to be a part of it. And, you know, you guys, the city all comes together and puts on a great event. You know, as far as the rodeo, the Fiesta Days, I mean, sellout crowds and a great event. You guys do a great job doing it. So I just wanted to come in and tell you guys thank you, and thank you for everything you guys do for me personally. And you guys got a great community, and you guys got it going on right.
Right.
So,
Hey, we appreciate you.
thank you guys.
Thanks, Joe. Okay. Anyone else would like to come up? If not, we'll go to council comments. Let's start with Councilman Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mayor. Committee meetings that I've had or are coming up. I got the South Utah Valley Municipal Water Association meeting coming up on Thursday of this week, so I'll have a report on that next council meeting. I did have a League of Cities and Towns board meeting in Salt Lake a couple weeks ago now. They're currently taking applications and whittling it down for a new director of the League of Cities and Towns. But as we've all said before and can attest, it's a good organization that we're a part of to give some training to us as elected officials. The Youth City Council, a shout out to them. We have another meeting later this month for the Youth City Council, but they've helped a whole lot with our Active and Healthy Fair that Joe mentioned. If you notice the flyers around town, they were able to take those up and down Main Street and help us out, get the word out to those businesses and to the community that's coming up. They're also going to be on hand to help us with the fair that day. And so when you see the Youth City Council kids, make sure and tell them thanks. Great volunteer organization that if you're thinking about something for your kids to get involved into, that's a good spot. So leading into the Active and Healthy initiative, Tyler's got a quick little commercial that's been shot. So you guys will see this a lot more in the next couple of weeks.
Hey, Spanish Fork, get out and enjoy some sunshine at the Community Health and Wellness Fair, brought to you by Spanish Fork City and Intermountain Healthcare. You won't want to miss a couple of big BYU football celebs, Ty Detmer and Reno Mahe. Lots of great activities for the whole family, lots of food, great guest speakers, prizes, and much, much more. It's all happening Saturday, June 17th from 9 a.m. to noon at the Sports Park. And it's all free. It's the Spanish Fork Health and Wellness Fair, Saturday, June 17th at the Sports Park.
It's going to be a great event. Like Joe mentioned, he's going to be down there with some other great speakers. We're going to have Brandon and Joe do maybe a lifting competition on the new weight equipment down there. See how that goes over.
I got to mention one thing. If we're going to do that, I get the shirt that I seen his brother wearing with the six-pack the other day.
Oh, yeah.
That's, I get that.
You can get that donut six-pack. Yeah.
It's all yours.
But great things happening there. Again, it doesn't take much to have a reminder of how important our mental health and our physical health are, and family is. And I've been reminded of that recently, but I sure appreciate everybody and their involvement with the Active and Healthy initiative, the businesses that provided prizes on a weekly basis, and the people that participate in it. It's inspiring, and I know has helped a lot of people and has helped me personally, so I appreciate that. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great. Councilman Scholes.
Mayor, the only thing, appreciate the Veterans Council. The Memorial Day celebration went off well. I also appreciate the citizens, Richard Davis and others, scouts that helped put out the flags. For that, did an absolutely fantastic job. It's almost like the opening ceremonies to summer full of activities and events. Really nice way to kick off the beginning of the summer. As was mentioned, the Youth Arts Festival is well underway, and that's all I have at this time.
Thank you. Councilman Gordon.
Mayor.
That was me.
That is you. I had a friend come tonight. I know you're surprised I have a friend.
Yeah, very.
About 7 years ago, Stacy Argyle began a little program here in Spanish Fork to help young girls. For lack of a better term for you boys, that Stacy will already understand this, but it's like an accelerated league for pageants. Does that help? Does that help?
Hey, I can relate to that.
But it's way more than that, having had my daughters compete in it, and it's wonderful. It's been a wonderful program, and it helps young ladies to make friends, to learn confidence, and learn a lot of different things about their talents and things, and it's been a wonderful program. And Stacy's passing the torch, so I asked her to come tonight, mostly to say thank you and to honor her for the 7 years. When I first got on the council 6 years ago, Mayor Anderson gave me the assignment to be over the pageants, the Miss Spanish Fork pageant, and this was sort of a side gig, and it turned out to be one of the most enjoyable things. And I know that when you asked me if I wanted a reassignment, I said absolutely not. I've grown to love the people that I work with there, and I love to see how the young ladies really grow and come back. If they don't win, they come back the next year, and it's amazing. I think it's wonderful. My daughter was one of them this year. Last year she didn't place, and this year she came back again and she placed, and it was super fun to see her grow personally. So we got something for you, if you're okay coming up and letting us embarrass you a little bit, Stacy.
Does your husband have to come up and be
Corey,
embarrassed too?
Yeah,
Corey
come on,
would
Corey.
rather just stay back there, I know.
We'd rather keep him back there.
Corey, come on.
He's going to guard the purse. I know I can't. Please help Travis to get that on camera. So we trust Stacy with our Stacy with gifts. And then
Thank you.
thank you. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been an honor and a privilege the last 7 years to, first of all, for the city believing in me and letting me start such a thing. There wasn't anything like this. I helped with Miss Spanish Fork for 12 years and went to a lot of events, and it was funny. I got the idea actually from Mayor Anderson. He come up to me and Rachel and is like, I really want a Miss Utah from Spanish Fork. How can we do that? And my first thought was, let's start them young like we do in baseball here. And that's how I come up with the idea. So 7 years ago, that's what I did, and that's how I started it. And hopefully it will continue. So I felt like I've started a good program. I've turned it over to good hands, but I honestly want you all to know that I'm grateful. And it was very hard for me to make this decision. I kind of felt like I have 3 sons, I have no daughters, but after doing this for 7 years, I have 20 girls in the royalty every year, so I now feel like I have 120 daughters. But that's not all.
Weddings, Corey.
I don't only have 120 daughters, I have way more than that from the city, because I find myself places, the grocery store or the Spanish Fork Easter egg hunt, and girls that have participated in this that come up to me and give me loves and so thrilled to see me that didn't make it. And it thrills me that like Brandon's daughter, and there's many more, that keep coming back. There was one girl this year, she has tried out all 7 years and has never made it, and she did make it this year. So that is the kind of story. When she made it this year, you know, I was just there helping, trying to make things, you know, go smoothly this year. And when she made it, I was just so thrilled to see her all 7 years and finally make it the 7th year. So it's things like that's touching, and it was really hard. I felt like I was kind of giving up one of my children when I made this decision to step down. So I'm honored. I'm honored that you believed in me. You believed in me, Seth. Thank you. Mayor Anderson, and also you, Mayor Leifson. So thank you. And thank you, Brandon, for being there for 6 years. So thank you.
Thank you.
This poster that we also had at the at all 6 years that we've been there. Brandon told me to bring it. I'm not sure. He says that
Mayor's office.
That he wanted to maybe see if there's a place of the whole 6 years of maybe we can hang it. If not,
We'll find some.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Corey really doesn't want it hanging in our house very bad.
Should we get the names? Should we get the names of each of the girls as well?
Huh?
Can we get the names of all the girls
Yeah,
in there?
I can. Yeah, I can tell you, but that's all 6 royalties from the last 6 years. So.
Great. Hey,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Okay. Anything else?
Yes, Mayor. Had the opportunity to go to a solid waste meeting. We approved our budget over there, and we also approved in that a new scale. We've had an influx on Saturdays of traffic because of many people bringing the green waste on Saturdays, and that's a wonderful thing. They're processing over more than 1 car a minute, which they're doing a terrific job. But this scale will give them ability to move vehicles a lot faster and get them off the highway and process that. And also would mention with that our voucher system is available. If you would like to take your green waste to the solid waste district in Springville, then you can print those 3 vouchers out on our city website by putting in your utility number and those things. And that's the 2nd year running on that, and it's been very successful. It's up here on the screen. You enter your utility number and your last name. Some people have lost theirs. Well, if they haven't been redeemed, you're able to print them again because they're not unless they're used. You're still able to print them out and use them again. And the only thing that I think a lot of people have confusion on is making sure that your load is covered when you go there. Other than that, that's all I have a report from the Solid Waste District. And then at the airport, I wanted to mention that September 15th and 16th is the 2-day event of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. They are looking for additional volunteers. I know last year our Youth City Council was able to go help and be volunteers, and so if anyone is interested in that, they can contact the city, they can contact me, they can contact our airport manager, Chris Childs, and we'd love to help. That is a wonderful event. If, again, Spanish Fork can show you a good time with your family. There's exotic cars, there's car races, there's planes, there's chances to win plane rides, and it's a way cool event. If you don't take advantage of it, you're really missing out. So kind of plan for that in September on the Friday the 15th and the 16th. So this year they've actually extended it a little bit of Friday night action. So, and that is all I have, Mayor.
Great. Councilmember Beck.
Oh, I brought pictures tonight. So Tyler, let's get those ready.
Which ones do you want to start with?
I sent them to you in order, so hopefully the Walk for Life.
All right.
The last 3 weeks since we haven't met, there's been lots of things going on, and our American Legion vets put on the Walk for Life for all of our local 5th graders in Spanish Fork and Salem at the...
Oh, wait, can you go a little faster?
Oh, I'm done with that? No, just kidding. We had a little meeting afterwards, and we just felt like it was so successful, but they did want me to give a big shout out to the city and Dale Robinson and the Parks and Rec Department. They said they definitely could not have done this without all of their help, and the 2 days that they were down there, everyone down at the park was just helping them do whatever they needed to do to make it a wonderful event. But the different vets, there were 8 different groups where the kids would walk around for about a 15-minute time frame. And these vets would just tell about their story in the service. And the kids were so reverent. It was really neat to see them participate. And the veterans were so engaging with their stories, too. And just thank you for the council to support them and the city, Nebo School District. Lots of principals and teachers were involved to make this a success. So... they even did a mock funeral. So then there were graduations. That's your key word for graduation.
Oh, here we go. There you go.
My baby graduated, so I had to put that down. And state baseball tournaments and state championships with softball. Then we had the Memorial Square ribbon cutting, and that was the Friday before Memorial Day, and that turned out just beautiful. So again, thanks, Dale Robinson. And then, there's Dale Robinson. There's a shout out for you. And then on Memorial Day, we were all there. Just a thank you to I think maybe not several hundred, but at least 100 volunteers were setting up all of the crosses the week before, and it was a really special event and a good turnout, and I appreciate being involved in that one. And then last Saturday was the first Spanish Fork Chalk Art Festival, and that was really cool. Here are a couple of the pictures. This one was the Mayor's Choice Award.
Pretty
and,
impressive.
And look who I ran into. I had my niece with me, and he had his granddaughter with him.
My beautiful old granddaughter.
Look at that head of hair. So it was a fun event. They had bounce houses, some food trucks, booths from our local merchants here on downtown Main Street. So that was a fun thing. And then because Brandon had his daughter in the Little Miss, I had a first, and that was I was able to MC a pageant. So I MC'd Friday night, Brandon MC'd Saturday night at the Little Miss, and that was so fun. I was so pleasantly surprised with the talent and confidence of these young girls. Backstage, they are so happy for each other, and it was just a really fun opportunity. So it's been busy and fun, and I look forward to a great summer ahead. And I think that's all I have.
They let you backstage?
She's popping.
Yeah.
Good pop on the picture, by the way.
Rachel-Lane has taught the council how to pop, yeah.
I learned what that was at the golf tournament when they took our picture there.
Yeah, we even had Miss Utah there.
Come on.
Shelly's lost in doing the minutes right now. She's really
Just strike all of that.
Just strike it.
That's all I've got.
Great.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. I just want to add on that walk of life, another person that really needs a shout out is Richard Johnson. A year ago, he came to me and presented this idea to me, and he said, "What do you think?" And my first reaction is, "You got to be kidding." But then after talking it over, he needs a big shout out to get that rolling, and city really responded well. So thank you on that. School's out. I hope everybody knows that. We've got kids running all over. Please slow down. Look at the intersection. Look at the roads. Kids are sometimes aren't real smart about looking both ways when they come out of across the street. So please be aware of all the kids out there. We love our kids, and we don't want to lose any of them. So be aware of that. And also the other thing, as we start, our yards are growing and everybody's working in the yards, I would just ask everyone to be aware of your neighbor. If you have a neighbor who can't get out and work on their yards, let's be good neighbors and go out there and help them, keep their weeds down, whatever we can do. Show the city what kind of people we are. Be aware of those people around here. There's some people that can't get out and do that, and so I would just ask that we do that and be aware of our neighbors and help out with their yards. Once again, we had a great Champions Challenge, like Joe said. We're pretty honored here to be able to host one of that. I think there's only about 11 in the nation, and Spanish Fork is one of them. So it was a great event, and I want to just appreciate all those who were part of that. Okay, moving to consent items.
Mike, you need to do something on that?
Yes. I'll make a motion to approve the consent items with the exception of item C, Wasatch Pallet relocation, due to them being a client. So I would.
You just recuse yourself.
You're just recusing yourself on that one.
Of that one.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
It's got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
We still need to address that one, because you can't make a motion on it.
So then I need to make a motion
Go
to
ahead and make a
approve the
motion.
Wasatch
Yeah.
Pallet Rail Relocation Consulting Services UDOT cost sharing agreement.
I'll second.
A motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Scopes. All in favor on that, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, you good there, Jace?
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I want to know. Make sure you're happy. Okay, public hearing, FY 2018 Enterprise Fund. Where's the scouts when you need?
Can't you do this?
So today, we're going to have, actually by the time the end of the night, there'll be 3 public hearings on budget type issues. First, I want to tell you about the public hearing right now that you're going to open in just a few minutes. It's not open yet, but it's a new requirement, maybe.
Does that make sure it's on the side? Sorry, I should have turned it off for you. On the side, there should be an on-off button.
Okay. In this last legislation, at the state level, there's a new law enacted that talked about a requirement for a public hearing and extra notices when a municipality transfers money from an enterprise fund to another fund, mostly to the general fund. And it requires us to, it's practically the same things that we're doing anyway, but I'm going to walk you through some of the specific changes that took place. We have a separate public hearing for the enterprise transfer, which we're about to go into in a few minutes. Some of the other, and it's just given a little bit more notice and a little bit more disclosure to the public. Throughout the state, I guess there might have not been as much disclosure, but our city's been pretty much doing this already. You're going to probably say, well, I think we already do this. You know, there's not really that much new.
I think adding to that, we were used by the legislator that did the bill as an example of this is what other cities should be doing.
Right, so we were the poster child, I guess, of saying other cities do what Spanish Fork does. So in the code that was written, there's a couple of specific words by definition, and so we try to meet those requirements. One is called specific enterprise fund info is one of the terms. And so what we did is we send a letter to all of our ratepayers, one we do each year anyway. And so what we do now is required by all the other cities. We put a separate page inside our city budget, which we'll get to in our second public hearing. A separate public hearing notice, which we're going to enter that right now. So I had to do a normal public notice for a public hearing for the budget, and also this one just for this transfer of enterprise funds. We put the information on our city website. We post that separate notice at the public website at the state, and also do a posting in our city Facebook. So we've met all those requirements. At this public hearing, it's now the opportunity for me to explain to the public what enterprise fund accounting data is. And there's 2 different types of data, or 2 different types of transfers that can happen. One is, I'm going to say number 1 and number 2, because I'll explain that in just a minute. So number 1 is talking about the transfer allocation of overhead expenses. The enterprise funds charging, or the general fund charging those enterprise funds for payroll services, for accounts payable services, legal services, engineering services, all those different types of services the city does. We call it in our city indirect services. On the legislature level, they call it admin and overhead of related operational costs, of their legal term. The second, number 2, is non-related costs, which we call in our city dividend or a transfer or a gift out of those. On that notice that we needed to send in that letter is specific enterprise fund info, which is a dollar amount and a percentage of expenses. So if you can remember this letter that was sent a month ago to our utilities customers announcing what the dividend gift is, and in essence it's the utility funds, the enterprise funds, are owned by our city itself. Our residents own the utility fund, and this is an opportunity for those utilities to help with the general fund to provide the services that cost extra to run the city, and we transfer those from the utility owners back to the general fund, which is providing services for the utility owners themselves. This, a little below up of that section of the letter, it describes what's the dollar amount and what the percentage of the expenditures of that funds. For example, water fund transferred $181,000 back to the general fund, and that's almost 3% of the revenue of the of the water fund. So that's where those numbers come from and what they mean. And there's also a transfer from the electric to the debt service fund, which pays for the public safety building. It's there. Okay? So, in essence, there's two different informations that's being discussed in this public hearing. One is the number one, which is the indirect services. And this is allocating those costs for legal, IS, planning, engineering, those types of general fund services that we serve the enterprise funds, and we require the enterprise funds to pay their fair share of those costs, and that's how those are allocated out. And so you'll see it's $3 million that is going back to the general fund. I'll show you when we get in the second public hearing about the budget, where these numbers are going to come back into play. Okay. Here's a notice that is a separate page inside our budget that's required. It gives a description of the dividend and also any other transfers that are coming out of enterprise funds. Like I list here, this will be the number one and the number two of those types of transfers that can happen. One's the indirect services, and one is the dividend or the debt service one. So that's a brief summary of why we're having this public hearing. And so now it's an opportunity for you to open the public hearing and see if there's any residents that would like to discuss that. Then you can close the public hearing, and then we'll move on to the next public hearing. Okay?
So this public hearing is just to talk about
the enterprise fund.
The enterprise funds. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we go into a public hearing to talk about the enterprise fund.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're in public hearing. Anyone that'd like to come and address us, come up and state your name and serial number and whatever else you got.
My name is Julio Mendizabal. I actually know Councilwoman Beck, and Councilman Argyle was my bishop in my previous ward, and I know Tyler, he's in my ward. And I married into the Icelandic side of Spanish Fork. So.
Oh, okay, you're an all right guy.
Wow.
I wanted to come up because 6 years ago I became a citizen of the United States, and it meant a lot to me. We came to the United States in 1991, and it took us until 2011 to finally become U.S. citizens. And I teach the Webelos about their civic duty. So I wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to at least describe the confusion, which has been somewhat clarified by his presentation. As a taxpayer, when funds are transferred to the general fund, I lose a voice. And it gets bestowed upon the council that we vote, and they represent our voice. One concern I have is our utilities are being, or the excess amount of money that is being transferred is not being used to lower the rate for us as taxpayers. It is used to pay for other items. How do I have the assurance that the council isn't overspending on the general fund and therefore trying to cover their overexpending of the general fund by transferring funds rather than reducing my obligation on a monthly payment to the utilities? If there's this much excess, are there any other funds that are associated, or any other debts that are associated to any of those funds, and why are we not paying those debts off? And once those debts are off, why does not that become a situation where I have the city come to me and say, we've paid off our debts, you now have lower rates? Then I would be more okay with saying, yeah, let's transfer funds because I already know what I'm paying, I'm comfortable with what I'm paying, but I don't know that. I don't know whether or not the debt is on any of those funds is being taken care of, and I don't know what you're going to use it on the general fund. So as a taxpayer, I think it's difficult to just ignore the fact that money is being transferred. I do have a high confidence level on those that I have had an opportunity to vote for, and therefore I voted for you. But I think that this question goes beyond just me. I just don't see anybody else coming to talk about it. And I also, you know, I don't like Utah as much as I like Spanish Fork. I work up in Salt Lake. I work for the L3 Communications. We do military and defense. I know about budgets. I know how we have to stay within budgets. So I understand the difficulty you have as the council and as a mayor to make sure that we do the proper thing at the proper time for our people. So please don't take my question as doubt as to what you're doing, because I do appreciate the service that you put in, and I know that a lot of it goes uncompensated. So that's just my question. I appreciate it.
Great. What we'll do is we'll finish up with the public hearing, and then we'll have either us or staff will answer your question.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
I'll
Julio.
have a slide that will give part of that answer.
Okay, that's good. Anyone else? See none? I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Beck, second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Maybe we do it.
All right, Kent, do you want to,
Next one?
well, or do you want to answer his question?
Address his-
Let's address his question, or
He's
tell
saying
me.
he has
Be
a
a
slide.
slide.
Oh, are you okay with that? Okay, good. All right.
We'll answer part of it.
And then what we don't answer, we'll do our best to answer.
Next is going to be the public hearing on the city budget. So when we go into public hearing for,
I haven't gone into it.
I'm going to introduce it, and then they'll do another motion. So basically, a city budget tries to balance between the tax dollars or public money that we have based on the services that the public expects us to service them in the public service and infrastructure. So it's a fine balance between how much money, how much does the government need, and how much do the people want in services. You could start cutting services if you wanted to, cut. It's a fine balance between those things. So I showed this slide last year, and there is, with the economy, years of excess, years of plenty. There are years of when sales are down, the economy's down, and usually that has an impact on city governments because city governments are relied heavily on sales tax to function, and a little bit on property tax, at least our city. So where does the city get its money, and whose money is it? Well, it's mostly raised from fees and taxes, and also in the rates that we charge. So that's the revenue stream of where the city gets money, is usually those three areas. And where's the city spend the money? It's usually on city services, infrastructure, security, and reliability. Everybody likes to have a power when they flip the switch that it's on, the toilet's flush, everything's taken care of. But it comes at a cost. When you live in a community that it doesn't work, that's when you appreciate the communities that it does work. And also, the citizens like to have a good quality of life. So sometimes there is a trade-off between, well, I don't care about the golf course. Well, some people do, some people don't. And should we have a golf course or not a golf course? Should we have a city pool? Should we not have a city pool? So should we have a lot of city parks, or should we cut half of the city parks? So it's a fine line, and the thoughts of some residents on one extreme and some on the other extreme, and that's why you try to find an equal balance between all that, and that's what the council's job is to find that service level that we can afford. Does the public have a say in how we spend our money, where we get our money and where we spend it? Yes, they do. They can elect as representatives right here. The citizens have elected this city council to take input and to approve a budget. The residents have a say when they vote in the ballot. They have a say when they have public hearings. They can give input. They can call you at home. They can stand up in this meeting. It's not just in this meeting when they can give you that input. So this is what happened so far in our timeline. On the 2nd of May, a budget was presented by Seth and was set to have tonight as the public hearing. The council adopted on May 2nd the tentative budget, and that's the 80-page document that you adopted, subject to change. So over the last month, the council's been coming and talking with the staff, talking amongst themselves. The citizens have asked questions. More data has become available. Some of the numbers in the tentative one that was adopted have changed. UMPA came with their budget, which changed. It had about $900,000 increase in power costs, and so those things were adjusted into the budget. There's several things that were adjusted into the budget. That was the biggest one. Others were minor personnel changes, a couple of items like that. So there is a change from the earlier one, and so the document that you have today, dated today, is the most current one. It's not being requested to be adopted today, so we still have 2 weeks of more input, more public hearing tonight, and more citizens can contact you and come in and talk to us as staff, raising concerns and stuff like that. In 2 weeks from tonight is when it will be adopted. It will be on the agenda again, but tonight's the public hearing part of it, okay? That's what that explains. So tonight's the public input. It's going to be revised possibly over the next 2 weeks, and then on the 20th at that council meeting it'll be adopted. Okay, so the budget that you have before you is $88 million. And if there were scouts here, they would get a quiz. There's the quiz on the board.
Dang.
So,
Can we still get treats?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, good.
It depends if you can answer them, though. All right. So how much is the total budget? That's good. See, you had your chance. You go for number 2. All right. So be watching. There's some quiz questions up here on the board that you can answer and get a candy bar. Not a big candy bar. Just donated.
Because Kent bought them on his
Donated on my own budget.
Not a line item.
In the budget is the budget letter, and the budget is, after today, will be posted online. The tentative one from the second is online right now. We'll post this one after tonight, and this one, the public can look at this one also. Changed a little bit, but not much. Okay, what's in the city budget? The answer is lots of numbers. And sometimes we get budget documents back from the staff, and it looks like that. I just can't read all those numbers. So we sit down and we try to put it together and try to make a Sudoku out of it. And try to answer and balance and try to get all the numbers to line up so we can present this budget to you. So what's in the budget? I show you this each time, but the budget's a big document, and this is kind of how it's laid out. There's a letter. There's a series of 20 or so pages talking about the general fund. In fact,
Here, I'll handle that.
so bad I didn't have one for you already. And so I'm not going to go through every page of this, but half of them, I won't go through hardly any of them, but I want to show you a couple of them. But this just tells you all the different parts that makes up a budget. There's stuff that's in the general fund, there's stuff in those enterprise funds that we talked about, and then there's some miscellaneous funds that we try to keep track of, capital projects and special revenue funds and some special things that we want to keep our eye on a little bit more in detail. I'll get down into the airport and stuff like that in a few minutes, so I'm going to kind of jump through this. So our budget's made up into 3 big areas. One's the general fund, and then all the enterprise funds, and then some miscellaneous funds. And that's the big total of the $88 million. That's the biggest budget the city's had because there's some big projects in the miscellaneous funds that we're starting to do this year. So there'll be some big projects. This is how the pie looks. Gives you a proportion on the general fund and the enterprise funds. And I'll show you a little bit what's inside each one of these. So first we're going to talk about the general fund. So we're just going to zero in on this blue pie. So here are the general fund services. So all of these services are provided out of that general fund. And how much is the general fund? If you look down here, it's $23 million, almost $24 million. And those are all the areas that the general fund tries to provide services to the public. And you can see it's pretty vast and there's a lot of departments in the general fund. We have added a new department this year. Can you find it? One that was 0 last year? Airport. Okay, so the airport is a new one this year, and we'll talk a little bit more about the airport. Its books used to be, or in the prior years, on Springville's books. And after this year, starting July 1st, they're going to be on our books, on Spanish Fork City's books. So, question number 2. Anybody like to answer question number 2? It's on this page.
5,294,719.
You don't eat candy, John.
I know.
You can give it to your kids. Okay, so the second question is, how much is the police budget? And if you look on there, it is $5.2, almost $5.3 million. Okay? And look at the swimming pool. There's question number 3. You won't be able to answer it yet. But question number 3, if you look down at the very bottom, third to the bottom line, it says swimming pool. Last year's budget was $400,000. This year's budget's $840,000. Why did the pool budget go from $400,000 to $800,000? Dale, you cannot answer this question. All right, we're going to come back to that. Okay? But when you see that answer, if you shout it out, you can win a candy bar, okay?
Oh, did you hear that, Ken? What did you say? Say that again?
Replastering and replacing.
Look at that.
I like it.
You didn't think she'd read that stuff.
Did you get
That was right out of Seth's letter. She likes the typed up version, not the numbers version. All right, so here we go. So next we're going to zero in on the next piece of the pie, which is the enterprise fund. And it's $50 million in these enterprise funds. What's in it? It's the water, it's the sewer, it's electric, it's garbage, storm drain, the gun club, and broadband. So these are enterprise funds, and it's $50 million. A big chunk of the increase on that one is there's more customers, so our costs go up, but also our power cost also went up a little bit with UMPA this year. So that's probably the biggest jump inside the 1.8 million under electric is a big one. So if you see storm drain, there's a bit of information I need to share with you and the public. Is this year, well, let's see, last year we had the streets department was in the general fund. So if I backed up and showed you this, whoops, is that right? Yeah. So if you looked at this one, the streets department, you can see last year it was 1.4 million. This year it's 0 because the streets department has now moved into an enterprise fund with the storm drain. So you can see that the streets now has gone down 1.4, but if you look at one more, the storm drain line right there, it's gone up. And most of that is carrying the streets expenses that run the street department into the storm drain department. Okay? Next, the miscellaneous ones. These are, gives you an example of what's inside there. There's B&C roads, there's capital projects, debt service, and the special revenue fund is the RDA, which we'll talk about. That gives an example of what changed in each one of the funds, the types of funds, general fund, enterprise fund. Okay. So this is the slide I was going to show you. Let's see if this kind of paints part of the picture. So inside the general fund, there are services that there's not a way for us to collect enough revenue to provide those services. So for example, police, we talked about 5.2 million. Well, the revenue that comes out of the police department is only 300,000. So we're $5 million short right there. Okay? And so these are the services kind of in the general fund that do not make enough of their own revenue, so it requires sales tax, property tax, and any type of transfer from an enterprise fund to help make up those deficits. So the $8.5 million that we're short, part of that transfer from the enterprise funds covers that $8.5 million that we are short in those types of, the swimming pool, golf course, the library, the senior center, all those different types of things like that. Okay? So I guess I can stop and see if that helps somewhat. Explains a little bit. All right. Well, after the meeting, you can come and ask more specific. So on our general fund revenue, so if you can picture that piece of the pie that's just the general fund, this is the revenue streams, or the portals, I guess, into the general fund where we receive money. So at the top, you can see that taxes are the top portion of it, which is a major portion of the property, of the funding of it. But you can also see that there are transfers in from the enterprise funds. There's 1.3 from the enterprise funds, and then indirect services that we charge those enterprise funds for services is 3.1. That's how we balance the budget, is from those and also from its own retained earnings. Sometimes impact fees, if there's an impact fee project like a park or something, then we can infuse into the general fund impact fee money to cover some of those capital project items. Okay? So, whoop, we're jumping. So here's sales tax. Is there a question up there? So this is the trail of our sales tax. You can see the recession dip that took place, and you can see where we're heading this year in our sales tax. It's a great story right there. I remember back in 2007, 8, and 9, and 10, and 11, and we were trying to get North Park going and saying, the residents were saying, why don't you get more commercial to help? The more commercial you'd get, it would help the city's budget. And so the city set out on that task to develop North Park and the north end of town. And finally, it took a couple of years to get it to start to gel. And now I think it's going to be a great asset to not only the city's quality of life, bringing stores closer, but also as travelers travel through and spend their sales tax dollars at our stores, our city benefits having a commercial district by helping us keep our property tax low in Spanish Fort. Here's some major projects that are being done this year. They're mostly in the parks and in the pool. So down in the parks area is the final phase of the sports park. Some pickleball courts are going to start. And there's some other park improvements around town, some on the east side of town. There's some improvements of curb and gutter around parks. And the winner of the plaster of the pool, those are projects that are down at the pool. Since we aren't getting a new life center, the life support system of the pool needed some major improvements to it. So these are some of those improvements to take place at the pool. These are the enterprise funds, their projects, and how much they're spending for projects to maintain a reliable service in the enterprise funds for water, sewer, electric, broadband, and storm drain, and streets. So those are substantial improvements into our community, the infrastructure. You add up all those, that's quite a bit, that's lots of millions of dollars that are going into our infrastructure inside our own town. We do have some capital projects that are going to be done this year, and lists that we're starting to save up some money in our land acquisition capital projects, waiting to see opportunity to purchase some property, possibly for a new library or other options. The airport has a big capital project, and it's mostly funded by grants, but those are the expenditure level. The golf course is receiving a clubhouse addition and remodel. The river trail is mostly grants. 3.4 is budgeted this year, but I think it's not going to get done this year, so it's rolling to the next year. But most of that is in grants. The cemetery will have planning on to do the improvement on that loop road that's up there. And then the top of Center Street, we've purchased, I think, three, how many houses? 3 houses on the top of Center Street. So some of you have seen some houses disappearing. Anticipating in the next couple of years the road widening The possibility of getting a signal light at that 1100 East is still looking pretty promising. So those are the improvements at the top of Center Street to help the congestion of traffic that leads out onto Highway 6 and across Highway 6. Okay, this is a list of the equipment that we're looking at replacing. You can see a list of all the police cars, the different vehicles, there's leases, the different departments that are there. And the way we maintain our fleet is we have a motor pool that owns all the vehicles, and we charge a lease payment to each of the funds. And in that way, at the end of the life of those assets, there are funds available to purchase the replacement part of those assets. So this is a continually, you can see the lease amount over here. So if you looked at a police car, let's look at it. How much a police car cost? About $45,000 to equip it up. And each year on a 10-year cycle, it'd be $4,500 that we charge each year for that one police car to the police department budget in order to cover that. And it plans ahead that we have enough funds to maintain a good fleet in our equipment. Again, this is the transfer page. We have to have a separate page inside of our budget. We always have done this. This is a requirement now for other cities. They have to do this same page. But we've already done this page for a number of years. So this spells out those two, requirement number 1 and requirement number 2, as far as transfers from enterprise funds. And this is kind of a mapping of where we are transferring funds. So it's transparent to people as far as where money is coming from general fund or to general fund, from where. If it's coming out of general fund, where is it going and why is it going there? So you can see there's a transfer into the airport of $105,000. That's to do the asphalt maintenance at the airport that now we're maintaining in a capital projects fund for airport. The rate changes. There's not a property tax increase this year. We try to maintain the lowest property tax rate in the county, which we...
When's the last time we had a property tax increase?
At the fire station, when it was built many years ago, and then it was taken off. This is just to give you an idea of where there's some fee changes. I couldn't list every one of them, but inside that budget document, we'll list out those that have changes, but these are some of the areas that have fee changes. These are the utility rate ones as far as garbage, recycle. Some of those, so garbage, it's not 111, it's 1115. That's a decrease. Sticky finger on that one. PI to decrease, that's something I think we ought to get a little spotlight on, that the PI rate is going down from 87 cents to 82 cents, and that the base rate's going from $13.25 to $11.34.
Maybe that helps answer part of your question too about rate decreases in the utility. Things that it's come down from that.
Because in the PI
too,
there was a large bond that was paid off.
Can you remind us what that started off at?
Whoa! That's a candy bar question. I think it's maybe worth 2 candy bars.
What? $16.
Stop it. Giving away his candy bars.
What did it start at?
Yeah, what did it start at?
What did the PI start at? My memory says 18 or 16. 16?
I said 16.
I think it was going to start.
I answered my own question.
I think it was going to start larger than that. I think it was around 18 or 19, except for we got.
That's all she wanted was a candy bar.
Forget the rest of my answer, huh? The answer's over?
Yeah,
okay.
You don't need to explain anything after that.
Well, there was a $5 million grant we got at the start of this.
How much was the per 1,000 gallons?
I just need one.
Bonus question.
I think it was $1.
I think $1.25.
$1.25? $1.24. That's what it was, $1.24. And so we've continually, as we've added houses, which help pay it, as we retired the debt, those the PI rates have gone down. So go ahead and turn on your water and water your dead grass. Talking about me and my house after 2 days of not watering. So. Okay, any other questions or anything on that? Let's keep going until we're done. Impact fees. We update these every year. Some of them went up, some of them went down. This is the new impact fees for or right now, right, Chris? Or starting.
This is starting July 1st, 19th.
July 19th.
Approved and just waiting to take effect.
Okay, we have a donation list that by state law we need to have the council approve that list. If there's anybody that wants to change or take one off, add one on, needs to meet a couple requirements as far as just not everybody can get a donation. It has to meet some of the policy requirements. These are some of the things the city donates, either a fee waiver or they donate money towards a certain item. Most of them are waivers, though, as far as using the fairgrounds for many places. And so we can come back to that one if you have any other ones that you want to add. So this is a little discussion on the airport that I kind of alluded to, but in July 1, Springville will start to separate from the airport.
Perfect.
Oh my goodness. You too.
Up to the font size.
I couldn't fit it all in.
Okay.
It would wrap around.
If I had a candy bar, I'd be giving it to you right now.
And so it's going to start a separation. So it's going to kind of run dually with them. They're kind of still in the household, but we're bringing the checkbook back over here. And so we're going to run the budget and those things starting July 1st. And by calendar year end, I think we'll have contractually, is that right? Close before the end of this calendar year, that maybe a contractual separation. So inside this budget we have a new department that's created for O&M for the airport, and we also have a capital project that's created to be able to hand the grants, the FAA grant stuff that comes through Armstrong's that helps us. So we can run the capital project portion of the improvements at the airport through that. So there's some new accounting that's going to be coming to the city in that way. So here's a nice picture of our airport, soon to be called the Spanish Fork City Airport. I assume that's okay to say.
Perfect.
So again, the budget in total is $88 million. And at this point, did we get to the end? What was the sales tax number? Did you find it? Anybody?
7 million.
7 point.
Well, he's going to clean house here tonight.
Julio's coming back, right? He's coming back.
Okay, so at this point, it's back to you to now open the public hearing for the budget and take any input that's there, and then close it. Don't adopt the budget because we're not going to adopt it until 2 weeks from tonight. And then when we get in the RDA, then there'll be another public hearing for the RDA side.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to go into public hearing for 2018 city budget.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Public hearing. If you got some more questions, or
I just have one.
Come on up.
On the.
You have to tell us your name again. Sorry.
Julio Mendizabal.
Thank you.
Mendizabal.
Ah, there you go.
He's too fast. We'll get it, Tyler.
So, can I step back some slides?
You have to put it back in.
Let me pull this back up, yeah.
We discussed everything but the bottom line, which says the rates are going up. Is there any more? So the base rate going from $6 to $9.05.
Yeah, let's talk about February. But let's talk about that. That's a great question.
Well, I just want to know, you're indicating there's a new tier system plus the base rate changes. We talk about the good that's in red because that's good for us, but we don't talk about the bad. So in full disclosure, can we just discuss that a little more?
Chris will come in.
Okay, Chris.
Can you bring up the electric?
Maybe about net metering or just electric?
Yeah, so on the electric rate, we had to accomplish two things with our rate. One is we had a situation where the net metering customers, those customers who had solar panels, were not paying for their fair share of what it costs to maintain the system that they needed to push power out onto the grid. And so customers like me and others who don't have solar panels were actually subsidizing some of the costs of maintaining the electric system. So in order to rectify that, we had a study done by a national firm that actually makes recommendations on electric rates to make them fair. And they said that if we raise the base rate to around $23.50, then lowered the usage rate the same amount so your bills didn't go up, then everyone would be paying their fair share of the bill. So what we are proposing to do is incrementally raise the base rate up to eventually the $23 in today's dollars over the next 6 years, and then at the same time incrementally lower the usage rate the same amount so that the average bill doesn't go up. So that was one aspect of it, is to keep the average bill the same but work towards a more sustainable electric rate. So even though it looked like the base rate was going up, what you didn't see, I guess, is that the usage rate went down in equivalent amounts so the bills didn't go up on electric rates. The other thing is, as we researched this, one of the things that came out is that we were the last city, really, compared to all the other cities that we look at and compared to, that had not implemented a tiered rate system where the electric, the first tier of first 500 kilowatt hour users pay a lower rate than the next 500, and then like that. And most cities do that. It encourages conservation. And so we are proposing in February to move to a tiered rate system, which encourages conservation. But we set the tiers so that the average user, again, would remain the same rate. So it's really a change in structure, not a rate increase, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So
touch on, if you pull up the rates for Zerai, maybe we address his other question. I think it might be helpful to talk about the
rates in general.
In totality, yeah, that might be helpful. So on the electric reports or public works reports.
So one of the things that are you going to bring that up then? So I've been involved with the leadership of the Public Works Association here in Utah for a while, and at one point we would give awards out to the cities that had the highest rates and the lowest rates, and then closest to the medium, and we would give, if you had the lowest rates in Utah, we gave you what's called the Lead Pipe Award, and it was a plaque and a lead pipe on it. And it kind of symbolizes, this is kind of a joke, but maybe you had a system that you hadn't well maintained or replaced, and you had all these lead pipes in town, and eventually that was going to catch up to you. The ones with the highest rates, we gave them the Chrome Pipe Award, and then we had the Star Award for the middle. And so I think it's very important for you as a city to compare yourself to the cities around you, and where are your rates and where they stand. And so we do this every year, and it's basically we take all of our utility rates and we say, here's our existing rates, and then here's our proposed rates. Some of them didn't change, but some did. Some went up and some went down, and then we compare to all the other cities, and we look at where we stand. And so if you bring up this graph, it kind of shows it. If you can push that up just a little bit. Right now, Spanish Fork, our average rate for all our utilities is right here. Is actually third from the lowest, but really close to average is the existing. But we're proposing to lower them, actually about $1 a month with this new, when all the rates kind of shake out. And so I think it's important for you as a citizen to kind of know where you stand in relation to, other surrounding cities with similar characteristics to our city, and realize that even with that transfer, which allows us to keep property taxes low, which affects, some of the fixed income type people, it also helps encourages businesses to come to town because they know Spanish Fork has the lowest property tax in the county. It's a philosophy that seems to work well in Spanish Fork, and so even with that, we're still one of the lower rates in the valley. I would never want to be the outlier and be the lowest. I think that might indicate that you're not doing enough to maintain your systems, but it seems like we're very competitive on our rates.
Good, thank you. All right, anyone else would like to, from the public, to come up and talk to us? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we're out of public hearing.
Move we go into RDA?
Got a motion? Seth,
Did you?
got a problem?
Oh, no, it's just, have we answered all of your questions, or to at least as some of them?
Yes. If you ever have any questions, that guy right there, he can tell you everything.
Sorry,
in
yeah, I
last.
didn't mean to move on until.
Yeah, sure you did.
But we do appreciate you coming. It's
Yeah.
great to have. As you
Okay.
can see, we get starved for the public,
Attention.
so.
You're in a scout uniform, you got 2 through 4.
Tyler's in my ward, and I was like, I really like you, Tyler. I don't know if I want to go and make a big deal. I really like you. I don't want to create any issues, but do you mind if I?
Go on up.
All right. Honestly, as an immigrant to this country, I am given rights and privileges that I would have never had in my home country. And I recently went back to my home country. I was born in Guatemala because my grandma was dying in May, and there were 7 shootings, or there was a block and a half away. 7 individuals were killed due to shooting and crime, and I would have never had the opportunity that I have in the United States. Spanish Fork has been a vital part of our success as a family because of the decisions that the city has made, councilmen and women that have participated in this process. So I really do appreciate having a voice in this process. And then that's why I was talking to Tyler at church on Sunday is there's a lot of things that this country offers that are taken for granted. And there's a lot of things that we often don't look for to improve because we fear that government is too strong or too powerful. And having nobody show up is saddening to me because it is a failure of our democracy process. So I do appreciate it, and I do appreciate the opportunity to be in a great city and have great leaders. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, I don't think anybody up here took any offense or even staff to you being here. In fact, we feel the same way you do. $88 million budget, and
There's one person
you
here.
know, and we feel like, I mean, you made the comment. I lose my voice, and that's the last thing that I want from any of our citizens to hear. And I certainly don't consider myself an expert on the budget. I've learned a lot having been on the council for 6 years. But the most important thing that I've learned is that every one of staff and their staff are open, completely open books. We're audited every year. You can ask any one of these department heads or our city manager for time, and they will make time for anybody. And they'll go over any questions, and I think that's what's helped me the most. And I really appreciate you being here. I like your story. Thank you.
Yeah,
Definitely. Yeah, we're very transparent here, and it's like I tell people, this is your city. This is, it's not ours. we've been elected to come and represent you. And, but you're the ones that, that make this whole city work. And so it's your city. Take ownership of it, be a part of it, and come and talk about it, learn something. If there's something you don't know, come and talk to us. And staff is great, like I said. Everybody's here to, if you have a question, a concern, we'll try to address that and tell you what's going on.
If I may, a couple of changes from the tentative budget since we presented that a month ago. As you know, we have a month in between, and there are 2 positions with the city that in the last, well, within the last month, but really within the last 2 weeks, we've learned that individuals are looking to vacate or to retire from those positions. I've been with the city for a number of years and have reached the age of life where they get to wonderfully, joyfully retire. And it's always a wonderful milestone. Anytime we have change like that, we do take a moment to consider how those positions are operating, and is there a more efficient way. As we grow, oftentimes we put on a second hat and a third hat and a fourth hat and a fifth hat, and it works well for me as the incumbent in the position, but it doesn't necessarily work the best, when you have opportunities of change. So one of those is in the information systems and in SFCN. I mentioned in my budget letter, and I remember also in the comments to you in the tentative budget presentation, that one position we hadn't funded was a network engineer in SFCN. You might recall that, and I said it's a priority, but we don't yet have the funds identified to put toward that position. One of our employees in that department is planning to retire first part of July, I believe, which will give us the chance. Gives us the chance to take that step back and look at it. His position has some funds that are in the broadband budget and some funds that are in the general fund budget. And through the review of that, Kent and I and John have looked and can add that network engineer position by adding, I think it was $35,000 to SFCN's budget. So what we did with this position before is half of it was funded out of the general fund and half of it was funded out of SFCN. And the individual makes whatever they make and the benefits that are associated with it. We have also a need in the general fund positions for the computer technician side of this person's job. This person wore 2 big hats. One was a network engineer side and one was a computer technician side. So in this budget, since the tentative, we proposed to add, I think the best way to say it is add actually a computer technician to the general fund. And we've moved the computer technician all into the general fund, and we've moved the network engineer almost completely into SFCN, whereas before it was half and half. The net effect is that the general fund pays a little bit more for the computer tech, but not much because it was already paying some of the position. And then SFCN the SFCN budget will only increase by about $35,000, which is actually a pretty nice change to them. They can add a network engineer position that is, I think, desperately needed in helping them with their fiber to the home project and making the system as sophisticated as you and I want it as customers. Is that a fair summation, John? The second one, I think I'm going to have Dale come up. He's more versed in this one as we're still in some of the research on that one, but a similar change at the golf course. And Dale will probably walk you through maybe a brief history and then also what he's looking at. You have a handy mark, though?
I'll rate his presentation.
Don't get your hopes up then.
4.
That's funny.
Thanks.
Really good, Seth. It just came to my attention last week that Richard Smith is retiring at the golf course at the end of June. That's fairly quick. So this is news to me, but as I've met with Ryan and Dallin, let me give you a little bit of historic, and most of you guys know this, but back when the recession hit and things were difficult for all of us, everybody in the city pitched in and did what they could to contribute and make things easier. Well, one of the positions, when Paul retired from the golf course, we did not rehire. And so we've been operating up there 180 acres with 2 full-time guys. And I don't think you can find that at any other golf course in the state. And it's been working okay. It's stretching them, but they're doing well. So at that time, we had a superintendent and we had 2 full-time lead workers is what we've operated with up until that point. And we felt like we would give it a try during that time. Now what we would like to propose to do here is take Richard's position and add $40,000 to the budget and hire 2 maintenance worker positions, which are a step below what we had before, and have them grow into those positions so that we can give Dallin a couple of full-time guys to help maintain the golf course. Now the $40,000 includes benefits, is that right? We calculated it with benefits, so we can get 2 positions for an extra $40,000 including benefits. And so what I'm looking for, since this is a quick turnaround here, is kind of a head nod. Are we okay? Can we move forward with that? Obviously they won't, we'll start the process, but it'll take place starting in July.
Are those full-time positions or seasonal?
They are.
Full-time?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we've got Richard now, and when he retires, then we'll replace him with 2 full-time positions.
He keeps telling me that he's worth 2 people.
Well,
all the time.
Yeah, well, there you go. It's proven now.
Maybe to Stacy's question, tell them what the employees do when there's snow on the golf course, they're still employed by the city.
They put up the festival.
Yeah, I think Stacy probably knows as well as any of them. But yeah, they're still the golf industry is unique in and of itself because we run 7 days a week, and so and long days. And so a lot of them are working extra hours anyway during the green season or during the golf season. But during the winter, they do set up Festival of Lights, and that takes. We usually start them the 1st of October, and it takes a good month and a half to get those up, and then they maintain them, and then takes another period of time to take them down, which basically consumes a good portion of the winter. And then, well, besides they're maintaining and getting equipment ready for the springtime, so they're also plowing streets. They're doing other things as well to help us. So they're definitely 2 full-time positions that are necessary for the golf course. Hi.
Thanks, Del.
Hey, how do you do?
He's not passing
Not passing a candy bar, are you? Oh, he didn't like it. Okay, I think now we can entertain your motion.
Motion to go into RDA.
Got a motion to go into RDA. I got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by
Councilwoman Beck.
Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are now in RDA.
Are there consent items? I didn't see any on.
I didn't see it on our agenda.
Just the public hearing.
Move we go into public hearing?
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're now in public hearing. Anyone that'd like to come and address us on our RDA public hearing? I'm going to show you first. You should have got here first before we did that. Where were you?
How fast I could be.
Show us
There, take away a candy bar.
Very back page of. So, the RDA for the residents at home is an agency within the city. The mayor sits as the chair of the redevelopment agency, and they now sit in their redevelopment meeting. Each of you are members now of the redevelopment meeting. And this is approving or discussing and a public hearing for the budget for the redevelopment agency. And right now there are, so right now there's this many different RDA or redevelopment areas inside our redevelopment agency. And these are back in the 1990s, these two. This one was brand new this year. This one's about 6 years old and only has 2 more years left life on it. And this one is just starting this next year. So these will be 2 new ones that you've heard of Sierra Bonita in the past. It's not a school, but it's the Young Living area, and they are triggering their increment portion for this next year. So that part of their property tax, that increment stuff, is going to be paid back to them as far as their addition to their building. And this is the new development of commercial out over on the other side of Highway 6, the Canyon Creek area for the Corona, and of course the windmills. So basically you add up those 5 areas, and this is the budget that you're approving based on those, what income levels are coming in and what expenses are going to be coming in. The Kirby Lane one helps in the construction of a lot of the area out there by Sapa, and we're going to be using that area right here to build a very important road that services that end of the industrial area this next year. Okay.
Good. Anyone from the public would like to come up and talk about our RDA budget? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to go out of public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Scopes, a second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Same thing, we want to wait?
Yep.
Okay, so we'll wait to adopt that budget in 2 weeks.
Do you have any questions for us? Anything that we need to be thinking about in the meantime? You don't need to, but.
You know it's Corona.
Corona. That's Icelandic.
That's an Icelandic dollar, or money.
I need to make a motion to reconvene into City Council.
That would be a good idea.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, second by Councilman Gordon. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're back in the saddle again. Does anybody have any questions about our RDA? If not, we'll go to new business. Bonner Substation, right of entry and occupancy agreement.
Okay, so we have been needing to build this substation for quite some time. It's where several different distribution lines come in all into one place, so that's an optimal place to have a substation. We've had one there for quite some time on the corner, but it got too old and we had to take it down. A lot of you probably experienced a power outage Sunday morning, right as sacrament meeting was
well, not
about
on
to
the
start.
I was still in bed, but just kidding.
Well, at any rate, one of the things that these substations do is they give us redundancy so that we can transfer power and have less outages like that. And so it also enables some growth that is occurring in this area that really needs more power. And so that being said, we've been working hard with the property owner here for some year and a half to get the land, and we've finally come to a point where they have agreed to allow us to start building with the idea that we'll work out costs based on appraisal and one of the things that they also want in there is to request some sort of support towards a zone change, not a guarantee of a zone change, but eventually they're going to want to develop this property, and they have asked that staff support a zone here which seems to be in line with the general plan of the city, and staff doesn't see a problem supporting it, and that's all they've asked. And so those are some of the things being worked out, but they have allowed with us this agreement to start constructing the substation, which is good because the transformer is about to arrive, and you need a home for $1 million transformer. So anyway, any
it's
other?
Not in line with the general plan today, but it is not something that we wouldn't consider.
Okay, so it's close enough, I guess, to the general plan that it's.
Right?
It's not what I said either. But
Horseshoes in hand.
Did you zoning or?
I said it's not in line with the general plan today, but it's not something that we wouldn't consider.
I wasn't involved in that part, so I'm not sure.
There you go.
Sure where
I don't have a microphone.
where that's
What
going.
happened to the microphone?
Dave took it.
Did you guys?
Dave took
I
it.
see
It's
Tyler.
in Guatemala.
Dang it, Tyler.
Yeah, see, Tyler's not even gonna let you have an opportunity to grab it. All right,
Well played.
so what do you need from us?
Just a vote to approve the right of entry and occupancy agreement.
Okay.
I make a motion to approve the master agreement for professional, no, excuse me. A motion to approve the right of entry and occupancy agreement for the Bonner substation.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, next item, I had a couple of videos sent to me by our police chief, and I'd like to show you. They're of the traffic. That's fine. This is at 1150 East, turning onto Center Street, headed towards Highway 6. This is when school is about to start, so
Oh, wow.
a lot of people going to the junior high there.
That's where the cop car's going. Donut shop.
Okay, so you'll notice traffic is backed up here at Highway 6, but what I want to show you is this next video.
What's the cop car doing on the sidewalk?
Yeah. He's hurrying to Cowboy Donuts.
I think this is about over.
Coffee and fritter.
So now let's go to this next video. This shows what's going on about the traffic that's backed up at 1150 East. Coming out here onto Highway 6, you'll notice that that car is hanging out in Highway 6 travel lanes. This is not good, as you can imagine. And so we've done quite a bit of brainstorming. We've talked to some traffic engineers about this, and we've talked to Mountain Lions Association of Governments, as well as the county, and we have a grant to fix this by widening to 5 lanes and installing a signal at 1150 East, which would fix this problem. But one of the things that's been good about Spanish Fork City is we have cash reserves where we can do things that make sense. And even though the grant money is coming in 2019, we were able to use city funds to buy some of the houses along here as they become available, knowing that we'll get reimbursed from that grant that comes in 2019. So it's not really costing the city any extra money. We're just fronting it and then getting reimbursed. So with that, we have actually purchased all the land that we need to install the signal when we widen that area out to 5 lanes. And so we met with transportation engineers, and since we have purchased this house and we own this land right here, the signals for this intersection need to go here, here, and here. We own all that land now. We are able to, with the future 5-lane design, for those of you who are new to this project, city is in the process of buying out all of these homes so that we can widen Center Street 5 lanes from US 6 all the way to 9th East, where we already have 5 lanes. Since we already have this land acquired, we can build the signal where it should go once the widening's occurred, but we can build it now. And the critical path for that is to get it designed and to order the poles. The poles have a 2.5 month lead time, and we want to get this built before school's in session again. And so Parsons Transportation Group is the group that designed the bridge, and they laid this out, and we had gone to RFP to select them to do the whole design of this, and then we cut it down to just this portion for now because of funding. And so this is to allow us to hire them to design this signal so that we can get that constructed before school starts. On another note, we've also are working hard with UDOT to see what they can do at this signal. We've always wanted two lefts here. UDOT's continually told us that one left with the blinking yellow will operate better, but we're going to have that looked at again as well. So anyway, that's all proceeding. We're trying to solve this problem as quickly as we can.
Right. Any questions, comments? If there is none, I would entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the professional services agreement with Parsons Transportation Group.
I'll second that.
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Ordinance 14-17, amending election requirements in the Spanish Fork Municipal Code.
Junior's not here.
You notice that?
Anyway, when we're getting ready for the elections this year, we started comparing it to what they did in the legislature to what our city code says, and there's a couple areas that we needed to get in line with with the state code on financial disclosures and a couple of those areas. So what this ordinance does is brings our city code in line with what the legislature's done on the election stuff. Added that financial disclosure needs to be 7 days before the primary. It wasn't in ours. Now the state says that needs to be in ours. And about the $50 donation limit. If you spend more than $500 on your campaign, then you have to detail every item out. That's something new that the legislature had that wasn't in our city code, but we need to put it in our city code. Just clean up our city code stuff for the election stuff.
Right. I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 14-17, amending election requirements in the Spanish Fork Municipal Code.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scoe. This will be a roll call vote. Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Gordon.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
That is done and approved. Okay, board appointments. I'd like to appoint Ted Henderson to the Senior Citizen Board.
I move that we approve the mayor's appointment of Ted Henderson to the Senior Citizen Board.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That is done.
I move we go into closed session for reasonably imminent litigation and land transaction.
Got a motion by Councilman
Second.
Gordon, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.